Good evening, Mia Gradney here, along with Len Cannon and the amazing team behind the KHOU 11 award-winning Juneteenth docuseries.
Yeah, before tonight's television premiere of this year's special Juneteenth 1865 to 2023, Freedom to Learn, we wanted to take you behind the scenes of this year's project.
Yes, and joining us are executive producer Jennifer Moore, producer Kristen Beecher, and senior producer Nicole Jones. Thanks so much for being here, ladies.
Yes,
the dream team, as we like to call them. And happy Juneteenth to all, to everyone
happy
here.
Juneteenth.
Happy Juneteenth.
Yes. So the program airs tonight, but Jen, we've been working on this special since last year, practically since we finished the last.
Absolutely. As soon as we were done, we're like, okay, what's the next topic? What do we need to work on? And of course, we got together, figured out the topic being education, threw all of our ideas at the board, trying to figure out, okay, what are we going to talk about? What are we going to focus on? And what was cool about this year is we knew we were going to do historically black colleges and universities. And the biggest time of year for HBCUs, homecoming. So being able to go and cover homecoming was really cool. And also realizing that, you know, Texas Southern University and Prairie View A&M University, their homecomings are the same weekend. So that presented a challenge at first. So we had a crew that went to the step show at TSU on Friday. We had two crews that went to Prairie View on Saturday early in the morning and spent the whole day there. And so starting there really helped us to figure out and navigate different type of stories, and new interviews kept popping up, and it was just awesome.
That Saturday did not feel like work, though.
No,
I
it
will
didn't.
say,
No.
out at PV, it felt like we were a part of the homecoming celebration as well.
And I thought it was such an important part of sharing freedom to learn, because HBCUs are so huge. And homecoming, I thought about the very first HBCU homecoming I went to, Wilberforce College in Ohio, with my grandmother.
Nice.
She said, "Ron, I'm gonna take you to homecoming." And when I tell you, it was a show. It was a show.
I love it. I love this with your grandmother.
Yes. So I'm so glad we were able to do that.
Yeah.
But also, Mia, this is our third special. So explain the difference between Juneteenth special 2021 and 2022 versus now.
It's interesting because both here in-house and then also just meeting different viewers, friends, family in the community, they're like, what else is left to talk about? After doing one, you know, the first year in 2021 and then in 2022 and then this year, obviously they don't know me. There's always something else to tell, another story to be told. But the first year was really a general overview of what Juneteenth was, its origin, how it's evolved, the holiday. It was originally Emancipation Day, as we all know, how it's evolved since 1865. The second year, we were focused on the pursuit of economic equality and how timely. We had so much going on out in the community, different states, even with some of our larger banking institutions denying us certain loans and unjust billing and fees and that type of thing. So this year, interestingly, came up with the subject matter of education, and that's how this year differs. Also, there's a lot of continuity between all three, and I tell people, if you have the time, binge all three.
Yes.
It's really amazing. There's a lot of continuity, but this year has its own vibe and aesthetic, and I think it largely has to do with that HBCU backdrop and the bands and just the excitement.
So I
that's
wonder,
there.
because you've all been involved, how you feel about the evolution going from an overview to economics to now education in terms of the project.
Well, I can say I feel really good because you're learning something new every year. You know, I'm really big on Black history. My mom was always teaching me Black history growing up, but every year I learn something new. And so there's so much, like you were saying, there's so many different themes and topics to get to when it comes to Juneteenth and the impact that it had. So this year felt different though, because it was like, there was more like, you know, exciting things to show because it is such a tough topic to talk about. So.
But there's also a lot of personal background here, and I want to bring that up. These ladies, proud representatives of HBCUs, both Kristen and Nicole. And then when we talk about Black Greek life and sororities and fraternities as well, all three of you are also in Black sororities
But
as
different
well.
ones.
But we keep it all friendly here. It's all good. But I think for you ladies too, that had to resonate as well, being able to share that part of your own personal experience.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think this year was my favorite theme, obviously, because it's so personal, like graduating from an HBCU. And like you said, we touched on sororities and fraternities this year, so it's very personal. Aggie Pride, shout out to North Carolina A&T. So yeah, I think this year was my overall favorite.
Yes. And then Kristen, you were able to really add to that as well too, having attended an HBCU too.
Yes, so this was my first year working on the special, but I've been a fan for all of these for the first 2 years, and I was really, really grateful for the opportunity to just work with y'all, but also to share, you know, of course, my personal stories. I'm a graduate of Hampton University, the real HU, and I am a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. So being able to include both of those like my organization as well as like my time at Hampton, and think of things that, because I went to an HBCU, some things just seem like innate to me, but talking to people who didn't attend Black colleges and knowing that you don't have misses, you may have a homecoming queen, or homecoming is really mostly about the game and not because of the band, but because people want to see football, like stuff like that. For me, wasn't my college experience, so being able to share this like love letter to my college experience with my hometown was really a great opportunity.
Well, we were so fortunate and blessed to have you on board. You know, we have to let people know this is a big lift. Obviously, we were talking about we started just as soon as we were finished with production last year, but it really is a lot of work in the sense of the amount of research that we do, but especially in gathering the visuals for it. Kristen and Nicole really head up this department, Jen as well, but with the visuals and the imagery, there's hundreds, right?
Yes, it feels like we, you know, researched over 100 pictures, videos. This year, what was really cool for me, we were able to dig into the KHOU 11 archives and finding video from like the 60s, the 50s, like video that I hadn't seen before. So it was really cool to incorporate that this time around. And then some of our favorite websites, Library of Congress, National Archives, we always lean on them because they have great pictures and resources for the special. So
Yeah.
Nice.
And now, in case everyone's wondering, what is she doing? She keeps looking down at her phone. I'm looking for your comments and questions. We're on Facebook Live right now at this moment. And so I'm just looking at some of those comments and questions from folks. Diana Lyons, thanks for checking in. She says, love this. Greg Scotto, swell. Layla, awesome. Thank you. We appreciate your support. And we look forward to you seeing the documentary coming up in a little bit. Or perhaps you've already seen it because it has been streaming. Okay, getting back now to the research side of it, with that comes a bit of a challenge. I know for myself, the lynchings narrative that I tell, for obvious reasons, looking at that imagery is really difficult. It is, and there's a certain sense of strength I feel like I have to have in researching and finding that and finding the best images. What about you ladies in this process? Is there any bit of emotion that bubbles up when you are doing the work?
Yeah, definitely. It's a lot, and I know Nicole and I learned last year we have to take a break sometimes. You have to step back because we're spending hours outside of doing our regular jobs here at the station to look at all of this stuff. And so one thing that you always get a complaint about, is, especially even in the Black community, is I don't want to hear about slavery anymore. Let's stop talking about slavery. But it is a part of our history. So what I love about our projects is that we're not just talking about slavery. We're connecting it to today, and we're showing positive stories. We're showing stories of perseverance, like Ruth Simmons. And so it's just really encouraging. So that helped me to, you know what, on this side, we have these bad images and it's really, you know, upsetting or just disappointing. But then on the other hand, we have overcome so much. And if, as we say in the special, if our, you know, ancestors can get through what they got through back then, we definitely can get through any hurdles that we're dealing with as a community today.
That's an excellent point. A lot of people bring that up. We're talking about difficult history, but great stories of hope and inspiration, and celebrating the culture, especially on the HBCU campus. Jen, you orchestrated the shoot this year. We were talking about homecoming, both at Prairie View at Prairie View, you worked on that one from Panther Stadium.
Yes.
That was exciting, huh?
It was. We were on the football field. I was with the band. I'm like getting low, getting cell phone video. Yes.
It was great. It was great access to have both on homecoming day, right? Because I don't know about you ladies. I've never experienced homecoming. I've experienced homecoming at PV, but not from that vantage point, right? Like being right on the field, right there with the band. At one point, I was standing, on something, and the band just started marching and moving forward. I was like, "Is this safe? I don't know. Well, I'm going to stay here because I'm just going to shoot the cell phone video."
So is that PV?
No, this is Texas Southern.
That's their
homecoming.
Oh my God.
Homecoming step show. Yeah.
And that was jam packed. I mean, everybody was in there. And if you haven't been to a step show for Black Greek letter organizations, whenever there's breaks, there's always a DJ who turns on music, and then everybody takes over the aisles and everyone strolls. So that's why you see it seems like so many people, because you're trying to show off your organization.
What I loved this year too, back to PV's homecoming, when we shot the parade. I remember texting you all, and I was like, I'm in the middle of the parade because Greg is like all in
Our
there.
photographer,
yes, it was
and you
so
were right
cool.
there with it. I
He
love
got
it.
in the middle. I would have felt intimidated, but he got in the middle of the marching band as they're marching, and he's like getting the shots, and those were some of the best shots. It was awesome.
So, author Sugar Track, that is her handle, says, "Love seeing women on the platform." Len, much love to you. But I think talking about producers, the women behind the project, yes, kudos to them. They are a dream team to work with as well. She also said, what do y'all have going for 60-plus audience, which many are still very active. Talking about
You
the
have me.
special. And I think it's interesting that she mentions that because there are plenty of moments through time, right? Whether we're talking about the civil rights movement and we're bringing you that archival sound that Nicole was talking about, but even when we talk about homecoming and the story of the Misses, Miss Jackie Washington, who was Miss PV 1974.
Yes.
Just to hear her share her story and the story of the Misses, which if you aren't familiar with HBCU culture and homecoming, those are essentially your homecoming queens.
And also in this show, the debut on television tonight, Freedom to Learn, we talked to Ruth Simmons and about her journey and growth in education, starting at an elementary school right here in Houston. And she's gone on to become an education academic superstar on so many levels. I mean, she's an influencer. She's sought after on campuses around the country. She was a president at 6 years at Prairie View, brought millions and millions of dollars in donations to that school. So her story is certainly is a bright light and definitely something that, you know, people of a certain age can relate to, because she's in her 70s and, you know, grew up in Houston, went to Wheatley High School, and then on to Dillard in New Orleans.
And I think even if you're in your 60s, this is not just distant, this is very recent history.
Yes, it is.
For my parents, especially if you grew up in Texas, a state that was so late to integrate their schools, this is your history. This is your story. This was your elementary school. You probably were going to segregated schools, and it may not have seemed like a big deal because you were 6, you were 7 years old. But looking back, I've seen like documents from my mom going to segregated school.
Really?
And you would think that would be something that's so far away. I'm in my 20s, but I can reach back and talk to someone.
One generation
away from this that I'm working on now, as if it's black and white photos and video, and it's so far away, but it's not.
Want to give a few more shout outs to people who are tuning in. Romy Johnson says, love this. Thank you. We love you for watching as well. Our own Cheetah Craft is watching. Thank you, Cheetah.
Go to sleep.
Robin Hughes, I want to give a shout out to her and special appreciation, because Robin Hughes is our art designer, graphics designer, and these moving high-level graphics that really help tell the stories that we all tell. She brings these to life with those graphics and the information that's shared there as well.
Awesome.
It is.
Certainly gratifying, you know, this project, knowing we're providing an educational tool and resource for people to watch and learn, Mia.
Yes, the response that we have received from the public is overwhelming. Last year's project Juneteenth, 1865 to 2022, The Pursuit of Economic Equality. That project on our YouTube platform has had more than 1.9 million views. We have heard from people since we started back in 2021 from other parts of the country asking if they can screen it, asking if they can make it a part of their own public library archives in the state of California as well. And what I love about it is when we set out to do this project, and very early on, discussions that I had with station management here who really felt as though, what can we do for the public and educating the public? I really felt first and foremost, this has to be an educational tool and resource, and something that someone could show all three of the specials and really get this broad view of what Juneteenth is, why it's a holiday for everyone, not people who look just like us, but for everyone, because here's the thing, this isn't just Black history. This is American history. This is our history. And what's beautiful about this is, and hearing feedback from people from all over the country, I've heard from people of all different backgrounds. And that's the beauty of this project. It really is intended for everyone.
It's a funny story. So my sister and her husband live in Florida, near Pensacola. And before this project even started for this year, they saw one of the previous, I don't know if it's 2022 or 2021, without realizing that I was part of it. It was this station.
That's funny.
Oh, wow.
And my brother-in-law tells my sister, your brother's in this. And they had learned about it. Listen, they learned about it. Somebody from Ohio sent it to them and said, I don't know if you know. So they weren't even, you tell them and they're like, okay. But they were like, oh my gosh. I said, yeah, we do this every year.
Alex Hawkins, thank you as well. She says, love this. So excited to watch the documentary live. And with that said, we're going to start wrapping this up because the documentary is coming up in about 5 minutes.
It is. It's been another amazing, hard-working year.
But we are looking forward to the next, and we couldn't do it without one another.
Yes. Shout out to Pacifica.
Yes,
our editor.
Our editor.
Oh my gosh.
As well. You want to talk about doing some heavy lifting, especially toward the end in post-production. We couldn't do it without her as well. So thank you so much for watching. Again, you can watch Juneteenth, 1865 to 2023, The Freedom to Learn on the KHOU 11+ streaming app. And if you are watching today, June 19th, 2023, you can watch it at 7 p.m. KHOU 11 is proud to share the history and legacy of Juneteenth. Thank you so much and enjoy.